The year was 2134, and Earth was no longer the quiet blue planet it used to be. From orbit, great rings of satellites shimmered like necklaces of light, carrying data, dreams, and hopes between nations that had finally learned to work together. Humanity had entered a golden age, at least that's what the news said every day. But deep inside every mind, there still lived a memory of the time they came. The visitors from the stars, the ones who helped humanity when the world almost died. Their name was hard to pronounce in human language, so people called them the Alran. They arrived 50 years earlier, when Earth was struggling after the great climate collapse. Oceans had risen, cities were sinking, and hunger had turned into despair. No one knew why the Alran appeared, but they came in peace. Their ships hovered silently above the sky, silver arcs of beauty and mystery. They shared technology that healed the air, cleaned the oceans, and helped humans grow food in deserts. For 10 years, the Alran worked side by side with humanity. And then, one day they left without a word. Since then, humans wondered why. Some said Earth had disappointed them. Others believed the Alran only came to test human kindness. Whatever the truth was, their absence left a deep silence behind. In a quiet city called New Geneva, a young scientist named Mira Han sat in her lab, staring at a hologram of the stars. Her brown eyes glowed with quiet determination. She was only 30, but her name was already known across the scientific world. She had spent her life studying Alran technology, trying to understand their mysterious energy systems, clean, endless, and perfectly balanced. She wasn't trying to copy them. She wanted to thank them. "I know you're out there," Mira whispered, tapping the holographic stars. "You saved us. We haven't forgotten." Her assistant, a cheerful young man named Leo, looked up from his console. "Still trying to send that signal?" he asked with a grin. "Still," she said simply. "If they could hear us once, they can hear us again," Leo chuckled. "You really believe they care about us after all these years?" Mira smiled softly. "I believe kindness never disappears, not even in space." That evening, as the twin moons rose over the shining towers of New Geneva, Mira stood on the balcony of her lab, watching the stars. A gentle hum filled the air, the sound of the city's clean energy grid based on fragments of Alran tech. Humanity had built wonders from what they left behind. Sky trains floated soundlessly through the air. Floating gardens moved across the rivers. Hunger, pollution, and war had ended, and yet people rarely spoke of the Alran anymore. It made Mira sad. That night she made a decision. She would send a message. Not just a radio signal, but something more. A message written in light and emotion. A mix of human and Alran code she had spent years building. A message that said, "We remember. We are grateful. And we are ready to see you again." Leo helped her prepare the launch. The message was compressed into a crystal pulse. Pure data and emotion encoded into light waves that reached far beyond normal range. They launched it through the city's largest telescope, aimed straight toward the constellation Alran ships were last seen disappearing into. The pulse flashed through the sky like a small, quiet star. "Message sent," Leo said softly. Mira closed her eyes. Now we wait. Days passed. Then weeks. Nothing happened. The stars were silent as they always had been. Mira continued her work, but every night she looked up at the same spot in the sky, wondering if someone, somewhere, had heard her. Then, one morning, something changed. At the edge of the solar system, an observatory detected an unusual signal. It wasn't a meteor or a comet, it was something else. Something alive. The signal was heading toward Earth. By the next day, every news network was talking about it. Governments tried to keep calm, but the excitement was unstoppable. People filled the streets waving flags, singing songs, and staring up at the night sky as the mysterious light grew brighter each day. And deep inside, Mira knew. "They heard us," she whispered. A week later, the sky above New Geneva opened with light. A single Alran ship appeared, smooth, elegant, and silent as a falling leaf. Unlike the old massive vessels from decades ago, this one was smaller, almost delicate. It hovered above the city, its silver surface shimmering with soft blue patterns that looked like moving water. Crowds gathered in awe. Cameras floated everywhere. The world held its breath, and then a voice echoed, not through speakers but through every mind. "Children of Earth, we return in peace." Mira's heart stopped. She felt the voice not in her ears but in her soul. It was warm and calm, like sunlight through clouds. We remember your kindness. You welcomed us when our ship was dying. You helped us rebuild. Now we come to return that kindness. Mira looked at Leo, her eyes wide. They said we helped them. He blinked. That's not what history says. The message spread across the planet like wildfire. The Alren claimed it was humanity who had once saved them. People were confused. Everyone had believed the Alren came as saviors. But now it seemed the truth was different. Governments sent envoys, scientists rushed to analyze the ship, and philosophers filled the airwaves. Humanity's pride was touched, not with arrogance but with wonder. If it was true, if humans had once helped the Alren, then what did that mean for their place in the galaxy? Mira was chosen as one of the first to meet the Alren face to face. When she stepped onto the landing platform, her heart pounded like a drum. The ship opened with a soft light, and from it emerged 3 tall, slender beings. Their bodies shimmered like crystal, their eyes glowing with calm intelligence. One of them stepped forward. "Mira Han," the being said in perfect English, its voice like wind through glass. "Your message reached us. It reminded us of the day your ancestors saved our kind from extinction." Mira's hands trembled. "We saved you?" The being nodded slowly. "Long ago, before your people had flight, your world's energy reached us through the cosmic web. It restored our dying worlds. We learned from your spirit, the will to survive, to create, to hope. That is why we came 50 years ago. We came not as saviors, but as friends repaying a debt." The crowd gasped. The cameras went silent. For a long moment, even the wind seemed to stop. That night, as the stars glowed brighter than ever, Mira sat alone in her lab, her mind filled with questions. Humanity had spent decades believing they were the ones who had been helped. But now the truth was the opposite. It wasn't just a story about being saved. It was a story about how even the smallest spark of hope could travel across the universe and come back when least expected. And somewhere deep in her heart, Mira knew this was only the beginning. The Alren had returned. But this time, humanity was ready to repay them again, in ways that would change everything. The morning after the Alren's return, the world was no longer the same. People didn't go to work. Schools stayed closed. News channels didn't stop talking. Every screen, every billboard, every corner of the internet showed the same shining image. The Alren ship hovering silently above New Geneva, glowing like a second sun. For the first time in many years, humanity looked up together. Mira Han stood near the ship once more, feeling the light brush against her face. She wasn't afraid. She was curious, and beneath her calmness lived a deep wonder. The Alren were not gods, not conquerors, they were friends. And somehow humanity had been part of their story long before anyone knew. That thought filled her with pride. Beside her stood Leo, his usual smile replaced by quiet amazement. "Do you think they really meant it?" he whispered. "That humans helped them once?" Mira nodded slowly. "They don't seem like the kind to lie." Inside the Alren ship, the air shimmered softly as if filled with living light. When Mira entered, she felt a calm warmth spread through her body. The walls were not metal or glass, but something alive, smooth and glowing faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. The lead Alren, whose name was Siren, guided her through the corridors. "Your message," Siren said in a calm tone, "reminded us of something we had almost forgotten. The kindness of your kind." Mira looked at the walls, fascinated. "How did humanity help you? We didn't even have space travel back then." Siren paused, then gestured to a large crystal structure at the center of the chamber. It glowed with golden threads that moved like gentle streams of light. "This is the memory core. It keeps the history of our people. Let me show you." The crystal brightened and a vision filled the air, a vast landscape of another world filled with silver trees and bright skies. But the world was dying. The trees were burning and the air turned dark. Serene's voice echoed softly. "Long before your first cities, our homeworld was struck by a great storm from space. Our energy was fading and our people were dying. But through the cosmic field, we detected something unusual. The scene changed. Mira saw Earth. Not the modern world, but a green and wild planet full of forests and oceans. "We found energy flowing from your world," Seren continued. "It was not technology. It was something your kind carries inside, the energy of will, of survival, of creation. It reached across space and gave us strength. We studied your world for thousands of your years, learning from your growth. Leo blinked in surprise. You mean human life force? Our emotions? Yes, Seren replied gently. Hope, love, courage, those are real forces in the universe. You humans carry them strongly. They connect worlds. Mira felt her heart swell. So when you came to Earth, you weren't just helping us, you were giving back. Seren smiled, the light in their eyes warm. Exactly. We never forget kindness. For days, the Alrans stayed above New Geneva, meeting scientists, teachers, and leaders. Unlike before, they didn't give out machines or tools. This time, they offered knowledge, lessons about balance, energy, and the harmony between living things. They called it the gift of memory, and they said it was the key to connecting minds across distances. The gift was not technology, it was understanding. A way of seeing how thoughts, emotions, and life itself could form networks stronger than any machine. Humanity listened. Students in schools, researchers in labs, even children in playgrounds began to learn Alran ideas. For the first time, people didn't compete for discovery. They shared. It was as if the world had become one giant classroom, but not everyone trusted it. Some leaders feared the Alran might be too powerful. Others thought humanity might lose its identity. Debates grew louder, though still peaceful. Mira, however, stayed focused on her mission. She believed in the friendship that had begun long ago. She saw something in the Alran that no one else did, a reflection of humanity itself. One evening, Seren invited her to a quiet garden on their ship. There was no soil or grass, only floating petals made of light that shimmered around them like stars. Why me? Mira asked softly. Out of all people, why did you choose to answer my message? Seren looked toward the window where Earth hung below like a blue jewel. Because your message carried emotion, not command. Most who called us before only asked for power or answers. But you offered gratitude. That is rare. Mira smiled faintly. Sometimes saying thank you can change everything. Yes, Seren agreed. And sometimes it can awaken memories long asleep. There was silence for a moment. Then Mira asked, will you stay this time? Seren's eyes dimmed slightly, a sign of sadness. Perhaps for a while. But we cannot stay forever. We must travel to other worlds that have forgotten hope. Yet we will not leave empty-handed again. This time we wish to take something that can guide us, a piece of humanity's heart. Mira frowned, confused. A piece of our heart? Seren touched her chest lightly, just above where her heart beat. Not your heart of flesh, but your heart of will. The strength that pushed your people to survive storms, to build after every fall, to dream even in darkness. That is what saved us once long ago. Mira's eyes widened. And how can we give that to you? Seren smiled. You already are. Every act of kindness you share, every dream you send to the stars becomes part of the great web of life. It travels farther than you can imagine. In the following weeks, the world began to change again. The Alran helped build small memory bridges, beautiful towers of light that connected people's minds in peaceful thought. Through these, humans could share emotions like calm, joy, and understanding over long distances. Conflicts and fear began to fade. People felt closer than ever before. Mira and Leo worked day and night to study how these bridges worked. They weren't machines in the usual sense, they were living energy patterns shaped by human emotions. Leo laughed one night while watching the first bridge shine above the ocean. We used to build walls, he said. Now we're building bridges of light. Mira nodded with a smile. That's how humanity grows. We learn by giving. But something strange began to happen too. The Alran ship started losing brightness. Its lights dimmed and the gentle hum that once filled the air grew quiet. When Mira asked Seren what was happening, the answer filled her with both awe and worry. Our time here grows short, Seren said softly. The energy that keeps us alive is tied to gratitude, to kindness. We are fading because our mission is complete. Humanity no longer needs saving. You are ready, Mira shook her head. You can't just leave. There's still so much to learn. Seren smiled gently. You have already learned the most important lesson, that even in the darkest times, giving light will always return it. The day came when the Alran were ready to depart. The world gathered once again under the glowing sky. The memory bridges shone all across the continents, bright lines of gold and silver joining every city. Seren stepped forward one last time, speaking to all of humanity. Children of Earth, you gave us life once long ago. Today you have given it again. Your hearts are stronger than any star. Never forget, the smallest act of kindness can change the shape of the universe. Mira stood at the front of the crowd, tears shining in her eyes, not of sadness, but pride. As the Alran ship began to rise, beams of light connected it to the memory bridges. The sky filled with color, and for a moment, everyone could feel what the Alran felt: peace, hope, and deep gratitude. And then, in a flash of pure white light, the ship disappeared into the stars. That night, the world was quiet again, but it was a different kind of silence, warm, thoughtful, filled with purpose. People didn't feel abandoned this time. They felt inspired. Leo looked at Mira as they watched the sky. "Do you think we'll see them again?" Mira smiled softly. "Maybe, but even if we don't, they'll still be here." She touched her chest. "Right here, in every act of kindness we show." Leo nodded. "Then let's keep building bridges." And somewhere beyond the stars, in the endless dark, the Alran ship drifted peacefully. Inside, the memory core glowed brighter than ever. Within its golden light was a small spark, a piece of human hope, shining forever. Humanity had repaid them, not with power or wealth, but with something far greater: kindness. Years had passed since the Alran ship left Earth. The memory bridges they built still glowed across the planet, soft golden towers that hummed with peace and gentle power. Humanity had changed, completely. There were no wars, no hunger, and no great divide between nations anymore. Every person could feel a quiet connection through the bridges, a sense of shared thought and calm emotion. It was not control. It was understanding. Mira Han, now older and known as the voice of the bridges, often walked through the great plaza of New Geneva. Children played near the glowing light pillars, their laughter echoing across the white stone streets. Adults smiled more often, and strangers treated each other like friends. Humanity had finally found peace. Yet deep inside Mira's heart, there was a new question. What comes next? One quiet evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky turned violet, Mira visited the Observatory of Hope, the same place where she had sent her first message years ago. She still came here often, not to ask for help, but to listen. Her assistant Leo, now a respected scientist himself, met her there. He was holding a small crystal cube that shimmered faintly with blue light. "Is that what I think it is?" Mira asked, raising an eyebrow. Leo grinned. "A signal. Not from Earth this time. From somewhere far beyond our solar system." Mira's heart jumped. "From the Alran?" He shook his head. "No, it's from someone else." They activated the cube. A soft voice, calm but unfamiliar, filled the room. "To the people of Earth, we have seen your light. We seek to understand." The two scientists stared at each other in shock. The voice was unlike the Alran. It carried a colder tone, distant but curious. "Who are they?" Mira whispered. Leo replied, "We don't know. But the signal came from the Orion sector, 300 light-years away." Mira looked at the stars through the observatory glass dome. The Alran's teachings had spread further than anyone expected. The memory bridges had sent waves of peaceful energy into space, signals of emotion, thought, and gratitude. And now, someone had answered. Within weeks, more signals arrived. Different voices, different languages, but all shared one message: curiosity. Other civilizations across the galaxy had felt the ripples of human thought. Some sent questions, some sent greetings, and others sent warnings. The world grew excited again. Humanity had once been the students. Now, it seemed, they had become the teachers. A global council gathered in New Geneva to discuss how to respond. Representatives from every continent filled a great hall of white marble and glass. The air was calm, but the tension was clear. Leo stood at the front beside Mira, speaking to the crowd. "We have built peace here, but peace means nothing if we keep it only for ourselves. The universe is listening. We must answer with kindness." Some leaders nodded. Others looked uncertain. A few feared that inviting contact might bring danger. Finally, Mira rose and said softly, "The Alran once said that hope is stronger than fear. If we share our light, others may learn from it. And if they wish to harm us, kindness will still be our answer, because it is who we are." The hall fell silent. Then, one by one, the leaders agreed. The council decided to send humanity's first message of unity, a pulse of emotion and memory, just like Mira's first signal years ago, but amplified through every memory bridge on Earth. The day of the transmission was beautiful. The sky was clear and the world waited together. People gathered around the bridges holding hands, their hearts calm and full of hope. As the signal launched, golden light rose into the heavens. Every person felt it, a gentle warmth spreading from within, lifting their spirits, joining their thoughts. The message of unity left Earth like a shining wave, traveling faster than any ship, carried by emotion and memory through the cosmic field. Somewhere far away, someone was listening. Months later, the first reply arrived, but it wasn't what they expected. The new signal came not as a voice, but as an image, a vast fleet of ships approaching the outer edge of the solar system. They were not Alran ships. They were darker, sharper, made of silver-black metal. Their lights blinked like cold stars. The council called an emergency meeting. Some were afraid, others curious. Mira watched the data calmly, her mind steady. Leo frowned. They call themselves the Threxan Union. They're not hostile, but they don't understand peace like we do. Their message says they wish to study us. Study? Mira asked. He nodded. Yes, they think our energy, the emotional field, is unnatural. They're worried it might be dangerous. Mira sighed softly. Then we must show them it's not. When the Threxan ships arrived near Jupiter, humanity sent no weapons, no warnings. Only a small delegation ship, carrying Mira and Leo. The journey took only hours using the new Alran field drives humanity had adapted. The Threxan ships were enormous, black triangles with glowing blue lines. Their leaders were mechanical beings, their bodies part metal, part energy. They had long abandoned emotion, believing it made civilizations weak. Mira stood on the viewing deck as their ship approached. She wasn't afraid. The Threxan leader appeared on the holographic screen, a tall figure of light and metal, its voice deep and calm. You are the humans who send thoughts into the void. Why? Mira answered simply. Because thoughts can heal. Because kindness can travel farther than light. The Threxan tilted its head. Kindness. An inefficient energy. It cannot protect you, Mira smiled. It already has. You came here not to fight but to understand. There was silence. The Threxan seemed to process her words. Leo leaned close and whispered, They don't know what to do with that answer. Mira chuckled softly. That's the beauty of kindness. It confuses fear. The meeting lasted hours. Mira showed them the memory bridges, the unity on Earth, the way people shared emotions across the globe without harm. The Threxan observed quietly, sending streams of data back to their ships. When the presentation ended, their leader spoke again. Your world functions without control, without central power, yet it thrives. How? Mira answered, because we trust. And trust grows stronger when shared. The Threxan paused. For the first time, their lights flickered in soft blue tones, almost like hesitation. Trust. We lost that long ago, the leader said quietly. Mira looked at the screen with compassion. Then maybe it's time to find it again. After several days of study, the Threxan fleet turned away from Earth. But before leaving, they sent one last message. Humanity, you are not weak. Your emotion is a kind of strength we did not understand. We will watch and learn. When the message ended, Mira felt a wave of relief. Humanity had faced the unknown, and won, not through power, but through peace. Leo smiled. You did it again, Mira. You changed everything. Mira laughed softly. No, we did. Humanity did. The Alran showed us the path. We just kept walking. Months passed again. The bridges glowed brighter, and soon more civilizations began to respond. Some wanted to trade knowledge. Others wanted to learn about emotion and thought. For the first time, humanity wasn't just part of the galaxy, they were guiding it. In the following years, humanity created the Alliance of Light, a peaceful group of species who believed that emotion and understanding could unite the stars better than any empire. The Alran, still traveling the cosmos, eventually heard the news and sent back a message of joy and pride. Children of Earth, your light now lights the heavens. You have repaid the universe. One night, Mira stood again on the balcony of the observatory looking at the stars. Leo joined her, smiling at the familiar view. You ever wonder if this is what the Alran wanted all along? He asked. Mira nodded. I think they always knew we would share what they gave us. They didn't save us just to help Earth. They saved us so we could help others. Leo chuckled. Helping each other forever. That's a good future, Mira smiled softly. Yes, a human future. Above them, the sky shimmered with hundreds of golden lights, the memory bridges expanding beyond Earth, glowing across space. Each one carried not commands or warnings but songs of hope, laughter, and peace. The universe had been dark for too long. But now, wherever the human light reached, life began to feel again. Humanity had become the new keepers of hope. The Alliance of Light had grown strong. Across the galaxy, dozens of civilizations had joined the network of memory bridges, sharing emotion, understanding, and knowledge. Humanity had become a guiding force not through weapons or dominance, but through the quiet power of hope. Yet even as the universe hummed with light, not all eyes were kind. Far beyond the edge of the Alliance, in a dark nebula called Veyron's Shroud, an ancient power stirred. They called themselves the Obsidian Conclave. Unlike the Threxan, they did not merely lack emotion, they considered it dangerous. Their civilization had built empires for thousands of years through logic, control, and fear. Emotion was unpredictable, and now, signals of human light had reached even their shadowed worlds. They spread influence through emotion? It is growing, faster than we anticipated. This cannot last. The Conclave had no intention of attacking immediately. They watched and waited. They would test humanity, not with weapons but with a challenge to see whether peace and kindness could survive in the wider galaxy. Back on Earth, Mirahan stood in the central plaza of New Geneva. She could feel the soft hum of the memory bridges beneath her feet, spreading warmth across continents. Leo approached with a small glowing device in his hands. "What is it?" Mira asked. Leo shook his head. "A signal. Not from the Threxan this time, and definitely not from the Alran. It's new. From the Outer Rim?" Mira's brow furrowed. "Outer Rim? That's far beyond the Alliance's usual reach. Are they friendly?" Leo hesitated. "I don't know. But the message is a challenge." Mira's eyes widened. "A challenge?" Leo nodded. "It's a test. They want to see what humanity can do, or maybe what we will do if confronted with the unknown." Mira sighed softly. Humanity had faced challenges before: climate collapse, the Great Hunger, and even the mysteries of the Alran. But this felt different. The galaxy was watching. The message arrived in images and feelings, not words. Mira could sense the Conclave's intentions: cold precision, a desire to measure, to examine, and perhaps to dominate. But there was also curiosity. The Conclave wanted to understand humanity's strength, and whether it could survive without control. The Council decided that Mira and a small team would meet this new power. Leo, a linguist named Tessa, and a diplomat named Rohan joined her. They boarded the newest Alliance ship, powered by Alran energy fields, and traveled faster than light toward the nebula. As the ship left Earth, Mira looked back at the glowing planet. It seemed smaller now, but no less important. Humanity's light had spread farther than anyone had imagined. And now it faced its first real test beyond kindness and cooperation. Arriving at Veyron's Shroud, the crew found a city carved from black crystals, floating in a space of swirling shadows. It was beautiful, terrifying, and unlike anything Mira had ever seen. They were greeted not by a ship, but by an immense projection, a being of pure geometry and light, its form shifting constantly. Its voice was not heard but felt, pressing lightly against their minds. "Humans, you spread emotion like a contagion. Your influence reaches where it should not. Explain yourselves." Mira stepped forward. She felt the weight of the entire human race in her chest, not as pride but as responsibility. "We do not seek to conquer," she said steadily. "We share understanding. We spread hope and knowledge. That is how we grow." The Conclave figure tilted as if considering her words. "Hope, knowledge, both unquantifiable. Yet they grow. Why?" Mira smiled softly. "Because every living being deserves it. You may measure strength with logic or weapons, but real power lies in trust and cooperation. That is what humanity learned from the Alran, and that is what we give to the galaxy." The Conclave was silent for a long moment. Then images appeared before them. Dozens of planets and civilizations under shadow struggling silently. The Conclave was showing them what they called the Standard Path. Civilizations that grew only through fear and control, limited by rules, with no hope or joy. "You are naive," the projection said. "Emotions are weaknesses. They will falter when tested. If your methods fail, your influence will crumble. Mira's hands clenched lightly. Then let us prove them wrong. She proposed a simple test. Instead of attacking, they would show what humanity's light could do. A small group of volunteers from the memory bridges joined, projecting hope and cooperation toward the shadowed civilizations. Slowly, across the nebula, something remarkable happened. The dark planets responded. Even creatures and societies long cut off from warmth or trust began to feel calm and curiosity, learning to cooperate without force. The galaxy was beginning to understand what Mira had long known. Kindness and unity could travel farther than any weapon. Leo watched in amazement. "It's working," he whispered. "They're changing." "Just by feeling our energy," Mira nodded. "It's not magic. It's understanding. It always works if we do it together." The conclave observing seemed conflicted. Their projections shifted rapidly, their form flickering. For the first time, the ancient power had no immediate answer. "Your success is unexpected," the projection admitted. "Your methods are foreign, but effective. Continue, and we will watch. Fail, and the galaxy may not forgive weakness." Mira smiled. "We will not fail. Humanity never has." After days of demonstration, the conclave retreated into the shadows of the nebula. They did not leave anger, only observation. Mira and her team returned to Earth, knowing they had passed the first great test of the galaxy. But something lingered in Mira's mind, a quiet warning. The galaxy was vast, and not all beings would welcome humanity's methods. Some might fear it. Some might try to destroy it. Yet for the first time, humanity had proven that hope and kindness were not weaknesses. They were strength. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted. Children sang songs of light, and adults shared stories of the memory bridges and the civilizations they had helped. Humanity had not only survived, it had led, guided, and inspired. Mira looked up at the stars that night. She remembered the Alran words. Even the smallest spark of kindness can change the universe. And now, that spark had grown into a light no darkness could fully extinguish. The next day, Mira walked through the memory bridge plaza. A child ran up to her, eyes shining. "Are we really helping the stars, Dr. Han?" the child asked. Mira smiled and knelt to meet the child's gaze. "Yes, every thought, every feeling, every act of kindness you give, it reaches farther than you can see. You are part of the light that changed everything." The child laughed and held out a hand. "Then let's make more light." Mira took it gently. "Yes, we will." Above them, the sky shimmered with golden waves. Every planet, every star, every being that had received humanity's light now carried a piece of Earth's hope. The galaxy was no longer indifferent. It was alive with the potential that Mira had always believed in. And somewhere, beyond the farthest reach of their senses, the Alran watched and smiled. Humanity had not only repaid them, it had become the light that could guide the universe. The galaxy had changed forever. Humanity's light, once a tiny spark, now stretched across star systems. The memory bridges connected hundreds of worlds. Planets that had once lived in isolation now exchanged ideas, emotions, and hope. And all of it began with a single act of kindness, the day humanity helped the Alran long ago. Mira Han stood in the center of New Geneva's largest plaza. Around her, people moved in calm energy, connected through the golden glow of the memory bridges. Children played, elders smiled, and scholars worked side by side with artists. The city hummed with life and understanding, a peaceful rhythm that reflected the new age of humanity. But Mira knew their work was far from finished. The galaxy was vast, and even the strongest light could fade if neglected. A signal appeared that morning, brighter and clearer than any before. The Alran had returned, not silently this time, but in a grand arrival that no eye could miss. Their ship shimmered across the sky in elegant formations, each vessel like a crystal bird in motion. The people of Earth gathered in awe. Mira felt a thrill in her heart, the same she had felt decades ago when the Alran first appeared. But this time there was no fear, only anticipation. The lead Alran, Seren, stepped forward on a platform of light, their form glowing warmly. "Children of Earth," Seren said, their voice like gentle wind, "we have watched your journey. You have repaid the gift of life not with power, but with understanding. You have shown the galaxy what hope can do. We come now to honor you." Mira felt tears welling in her eyes. For decades, humanity had worked to repay a debt they barely understood, and now, the Alren recognized it. The Alren did not bring machines or energy crystals this time. Instead, they brought something more profound, a gift of memory and experience, a network that allowed humans to see, feel, and understand the history of countless worlds, both alive and lost. "We offer you the Web of Worlds," Seren explained. "A network of knowledge, memory, and emotion. It will guide humanity in spreading hope and understanding further than you have dreamed." Mira stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly. This will help us guide the galaxy?" Seren nodded. "Yes, but remember, it is not just technology. It is trust, respect, and the desire to share kindness. These must be yours to keep." The installation of the Web of Worlds began. Across Earth, the memory bridges expanded, linking not just planets but entire star systems. Humans could now feel what life was like on distant worlds. They could sense joy, sadness, hope, and curiosity from species they had never met. It was overwhelming at first. Mira spent hours in the observation hall, learning to understand the voices of the galaxy. Every thought and feeling became a thread in a grand tapestry of life. And she realized humanity's role was to weave these threads into patterns of understanding and peace. Meanwhile, the Threxan and even the Obsidian Conclave observed from afar. Unlike before, they did not approach with fear or challenge, they approached with curiosity. The Web of Worlds made the galaxy smaller, more connected, and even those who had abandoned emotion began to see its value. Mira and her team began working closely with these civilizations. They shared knowledge of the memory bridges, teaching how emotions could strengthen communities, inspire innovation, and prevent conflict. Slowly, barriers that had lasted millennia began to dissolve. Leo laughed one evening as he watched the exchange. "We've done it. They're learning from us," Mira smiled. "Not just from us. From everyone connected. Humanity's role is to guide, but the galaxy itself is teaching us too." One quiet night, Mira walked through a plaza filled with glowing children's gardens. A child named Lyra tugged at her sleeve. "Dr. Han," Lyra asked, eyes wide, "will we ever run out of light?" Mira knelt to meet her gaze. "No, Lyra, light doesn't disappear if it is shared. Every act of kindness, every thought of hope makes it stronger. We keep it alive together." Lyra nodded thoughtfully and ran to join her friends. Mira watched her go, thinking of the Alren words that had guided her all these years. Even the smallest spark of kindness can change the universe. And indeed, that spark had grown into a blazing light that now reached stars beyond counting. Across the galaxy, new species joined the Alliance of Light. Scholars from distant planets shared discoveries, artists exchanged visions of beauty, and leaders learned to rule with empathy. Humanity's influence was not forced, not demanded. It was offered freely, and others accepted it willingly. For the first time, the galaxy truly understood that strength did not lie in weapons or control but in connection, understanding, and hope. The Alren stayed for a celebration unlike any Earth had seen. They invited humans aboard their ships, teaching new ways to use the Web of Worlds, showing civilizations that had once been isolated how to cooperate without conflict. Mira floated in zero-gravity gardens, surrounded by beings of all shapes, sizes, and colors. Each one shared stories of their worlds, of challenges overcome, of hope restored. She felt the same calm warmth the Alren had given her decades ago, but multiplied 1,000 times. "Look at them," Leo whispered. "All these worlds, all these lives. We helped them, and now they help each other." Mira nodded. This is what the Alren wanted. Not to be heroes for us, but to show us how to be heroes for the galaxy. The culmination of humanity's journey came with a festival across every planet connected through the bridges. People of all species sang, laughed, and shared memories. Even the stars themselves seemed brighter, as if acknowledging the unity below. From the Earth's surface, Mira watched golden lines of the bridges stretching across the sky, connecting to moons, planets, and distant civilizations. She felt a tap on her shoulder. Seren, the lead Alren, stood beside her. "You have done well, Mira Han. Your people have repaid what was once given, not with wealth, not with power, but with the strength of the heart. You are now the light of the galaxy." Mira bowed her head. "It is not just me. It is all of humanity, and every life we touch." Serene's eyes glowed warmly. "And that is the true gift. You understand that the universe does not exist to serve us. It exists for all who inhabit it. and you have learned to honor it." That night Mira returned to her lab. She gazed at the stars and thought of the first time she had sent a message into the void. A small pulse of light that carried her gratitude, her hope, and her trust. That tiny spark had begun the journey that now connected hundreds of worlds. Leo joined her quietly. "Do you think the Alran are proud?" Mira smiled softly. "They have always been proud, but now they also know something new. Humanity is ready to guide the stars, not as saviors but as friends." They stood in silence, listening to the quiet hum of the memory bridges. The world and the galaxy beyond had changed forever. Somewhere in the distant reaches of the universe, beyond even the farthest memory bridge, a new civilization felt the pulse of human light for the first time. They paused, not with fear but with curiosity. And in that moment hope reached another world. Mira's heart swelled. Humanity had started as small, fragile beings on a blue planet. They had faced disasters, fear, and doubt. And yet their kindness had grown. Not just to repay the Alran, but to shape the destiny of countless stars. The Alran returned home, leaving humans to continue their work, but their presence lingered in the golden glow of the bridges. Humanity was no longer merely a species. It was a beacon. A single thought carried across space, even the smallest spark, when shared freely could illuminate the universe and humanity. With every act of kindness, every moment of understanding had become that light. The stars shone a little brighter that night, as if smiling down upon the people of Earth and the universe. Vast and endless had learned the power of the human heart.